Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to day 3 of Davinci Fusion. So today I've got something that I really wanted to learn about, and that is masking. And actually from doing the research about it, there's quite a lot of ways to mask in Davinci. You can either do it in Fusion or also in the color tab. Which the color tab looks actually probably a little bit or more of an easier way to do it, especially if you want to mess with things like hues and other things, and changing color. And also especially if you have the studio version, which has something called magic mask, and that looks like you can just mask things in literally like seconds basically. So that would be amazing. I don't have the studio version though, so everything I do at the moment will have to be more of a manual kind of way of doing it. But I was looking at ways to mask in Fusion. It looks really straightforward and it also looks really quick. So I'm going to jump into Davinci right now and just show you something that I learned about how to mask someone out of an image, and you can put a bit of text behind them, like between them and the image. Is kind of a classic thing to do, where you put in text between the subject and the background. So let's jump into Davinci right now and we'll get going with that. So I've already got a clip in here and I've dragged it onto my timeline. All I've done to this clip is put a bit of stabilization on it, and I haven't color graded it yet. That's why it looks pretty unsaturated. It's shot in log. Now the easiest thing about this clip is it's actually really stable, right? It's a pretty static shot. It's just a woman, looking into the sea, kind of meditating. So there's not going to be too much movement in it, which obviously makes the shot a lot more easier. If you wanted to kind of do more of a moving shot, then you'd have to go through frame by frame, which would make things a lot more complicated, and there'd be a lot of movement. But with this shot, the camera is wobbling a little bit, so I can make like small adjustments to the mask, but it's not really much of a big deal. So let's jump into Fusion. And as you can see, once again, you've got your clip in and clip out. So anything in between is going to obviously be affected. One thing I will do though is actually jump back into my editor page, and I'm going to duplicate the clip. So one clip is going to keep the background the same. So jump back into Fusion and just make sure I'm editing the right clip. Jump back into Fusion, and here we have a rectangle, ellipse, polygon, and the BS spline, and they're different forms of kind of masking tools that you can use as shape. Obviously your rectangle is just your standard rectangle, and your ellipse is obviously just your standard ellipse. But with the polygon tool, we can actually kind of, start to move around the subject, which make things a bit more easier. And as I mentioned, one thing I am going to do though, actually, let me just delete that. I'm going to move my timeline right to the beginning. This way, it's just kind of easier. Like I'll move along rather than kind of having to go backwards and forwards. So I'm just going to kind of cut around my clip right now. So this is the first frame. And this, as I mentioned, can take a bit of time, unfortunately. Definitely worth paying for the studio version to get that magic masking if this is what you're going to be doing often. But that's a pretty straightforward job, to be honest. So as you can see, that's now masked out my subject. And if I move along, we can see, look, it moves a little bit. I'm just gonna get rid of this second camera. If you click on this little button up here, it says select all points. So this is great. You can select all points and then start moving your mask around. So I'm just using the arrow keys here just to move it around, like just ever so slightly, because obviously she's moving, because obviously there was like some shaking in the camera, so it's not really too much of a big deal. She's not moving too far. Let's keep playing it. That's great. So it's not too bad. Now all I'm going to do is add that to my, my media in, and as you can see, it's cropped out the clip now. So all you have that, if I play it, you can see just her kind of floating, and that's it really. And then if I move to this side now, so you won't be obviously be able to see the mask here because the background's over the top. But if I create a little space in between and add a little text in there, what should happen now, if I put something like meditate and make that nice and big, as you can see, it's divided her from the background. Look at that. Amazing. Pretty simple stuff. As I said, this can be really time consuming, but masking can be used for so many things. I mean, this is really basic. If you YouTube a lot of what people are doing with masking, you'll see that it's pretty insane. So definitely it's a tool that you need to have in your tool belt and know how to do pretty well. As I mentioned, it can be time consuming, but if you know how to do it well, you can use it for so many things. So thanks a lot. I hope you found that useful, and join me again tomorrow for another tool that I'm going to be learning about in DaVinci Resolve. So thanks a lot, and see you later.